Dragons. Today we are going to learn how to make our own clay. Yes, we are going to make clay at home. So you're going to need flour, water, salt, and if you have some food coloring, you can use that, and glitter too. I'm going to give you the recipe in a little bit. I wanted to let you know that you can reuse this clay for a couple days as long as you keep it safe in an airtight container. So that means no air gets in it. And then once you have your finished sculpture, you can leave it outside to dry in the sun. You can leave it in front of a fan, or with your mom and dad's permission, you can put it in the oven at a really low temperature. I'm also going to teach you how to make two different projects today, but don't feel like you have to make either of these projects. You can make anything you want. So as long as you make your clay and you upload it to Seesaw, we'll consider that a success. But if you want to learn how to make fish on a stick, I'm going to show you how to do that. And I'm also going to show you how to make a bobblehead bunny. So my bobblehead bunny, we call it the bobblehead. It's because the head goes back and forth like this and moves around. And if you can, just why don't you try to do your head in a bobblehead? Like this. Ooh. Can you do it? Ooh. It's fun. Okay. And once your clay is dry, you can paint it if you want to, or you don't have to. It's all up to you, but don't paint it unless it's dry. Make sure you check with your mom and dad too before you start going into the kitchen to get all the supplies and make the clay. Make sure that they're okay with it, and also only use the oven if you have permission from your mom and dad and they're there to help you. If you have any questions, send me a message. Otherwise, I'm going to do a step-by-step video, and there's going to be spots in there that you just hit the button and you pause. You make your own clay, and then you'll watch me, and then you'll pause again. All right, I hope you enjoy this activity. So the best place to make homemade clay is going to be the kitchen. So head on into the kitchen and get the biggest bowl that you have. The bigger the bowl, the less the mess you will have. You're going to get 2 cups of wheat flour. And if you want to wait and just watch the video, the recipe is going to be at the end and you can pause it. So you're just going to dump 2 big heaping cups of wheat flour into your bowl. And the next ingredient is going to be salt. Now, if you mix the wheat flour and the salt together, you're going to end up with a white clay. So here I am adding 1 cup of salt. So 2 cups flour, 1 cup salt. I'm using some chopsticks to mix it together, but you can use a spoon. And if you just use flour and salt, you're going to end up with a white clay, which is fine. But if you have some glitter at home, you can add it now, and then you're going to give it another stir. The next step is going to be adding some water and food coloring, and it's better to add just a little bit of food coloring to the water and mix it together, and that will keep it from ending up with one big dark color spot, and you don't need that much food coloring. If you put too much in, then it will stain your hands. So just start off with a little bit. Use some chopsticks again to just mix it around, or you can use a spoon, and once it starts to mix together and crumble up, you can put your chopsticks down and start to squish it with your hands. And that is really fun. It's fun to watch the colors mix together and to feel all the textures. If the clay is too wet, it's going to stick to your hands. Mine isn't too wet right here, so you can see the clay's coming off of my hands pretty easily. But if it keeps sticking and it's just too wet and it's getting your hands super goopy, then add a little bit more flour. And if it's too dry and you can't mix it together, add a little bit more water. But you want it to be enough to where it's not sticking to your hands and it's not sticking to the side of the bowl, so that way you're going to be able to work with it. All right, so here in just a second, I've got my awesome sparkly dough ready here, and I'm going to put up the recipe, and you can hit the pause button and begin to make your own clay. Good luck! Now that you have your clay ready, if you would like to try your hands at a bobblehead bunny, we're going to start off with separating about half of our clay, and then we are going to get a toilet paper roll, and we're going to cut that toilet paper roll in half. You do not need the whole thing, you only need half of it. And then we're also going to have some chopsticks or a skewer, some tools to work with the clay. You're going to flatten it out into a big, long pancake, a slab. And you can even slam it down and go slab. And then you want it to be long enough so your toilet paper roll wraps all the way around it. And then you're going to cut that bottom line nice and straight. And that's going to be the bottom part of your body. Then you'll wrap the clay around the toilet paper roll and just squish it together. With this homemade clay, you don't need to slip and score. It's kind of like Play-Doh and it just sticks together by itself. After you wrap it around, you're going to kind of squeeze it up and make a point on the top. It's going to look a little bit funny, but that point is how your head is going to attach and so that it can bobble around. So you want the point to be about 1.5 to 2.5 inches. And then after you finish with that, you'll have a lot of clay left over, so don't worry about using too much clay, but then you're gonna add your legs and your feet on. And again, you don't have to slip and score, just squish them on. And there's no right or wrong way, just be as creative as you can. And maybe you don't wanna make a bunny, maybe you wanna make a cat or a dog or a deer. You can make anything you want to. So the bobblehead doesn't have to be a bunny, but I'm just showing you how to make a bunny today. Once you're done, make sure you're squishing it, and you don't want your clay to be too thick. So mine is still pretty thick here, but it's about as thick as my finger. So you don't want it to be any thicker than your finger, just like in the classroom. So I'm using all the different tools that I have here to create some texture on my tail because I want my bunny tail to look nice and fluffy. I'm squishing it on, and voila, I'm done with the body. All right, so next up is our bobblehead bunny head. So we are going to use another portion of the clay and we are going to be making a pinch pot. So turn it into a basketball, use your thumb to make a hole, and then chomp around the side. We've used this technique a lot in the classroom, so you should be pretty familiar with it. Next up, we're going to just add the eyes on using different pancakes. And I'm adding 2 eyes and 2 cheeks. So I'm adding 4 circles on right now. So 2 for the eyeballs and then 2 for the cheeks. It's kind of hard to see on the video, but if you pause the video, you'll see that I've got those 4 circles added on, and then next I'm going to add the nose. I'm going to turn the nose into a cute little triangle, and you'll see, oh, there he is. There's my cute bunny face. Now next, I'm going to begin by adding the ears. And the ears, they can get a little bit floppy, and you can also add teeth if you wanted to. I've tried to add teeth a couple times on the bunny, but it's always looked a little bit weird. So I decided to leave it off of this, but be as creative as you want to. Maybe your bunny is going to be wearing sunglasses, maybe he's got on a hat. So you're going to have a lot of clay. This should be enough clay for the bobblehead bunny, the head bobblehead, and the fish on a stick. And then you can also just have some extra clay to use, or maybe one of your brothers or sisters wants to use some of the clay too. You can keep it in an airtight container, use it in a couple days, but there is our bunny, which is going to be ready to dry. You could practice putting it on the body, but don't let it dry on the body. All right, friends, our last project today is fish on a stick, which is exactly what it's going to be, is just a fish that we put on a stick, and so it looks like it's swimming in the ocean. So I'm going to start by using some of the clay that I have left over and turning it into a pancake, and then just shaping it into a fish body. Now I've used an oval here, but you can change your fish into any shape that you want. So maybe instead of fish on a stick, you want to make shark on a stick, or jellyfish on a stick, squid on a stick. Be as creative as you can. So once you've added the fish body and you've maybe added a mouth, some eyes, or a fin, remember that your sculpture is going to be seen on both sides because it's going to be standing up on your popsicle stick. So if make sure that both sides of the sculpture look really good. And if you don't have a popsicle stick, then maybe you can just eat a popsicle and then you can use that stick left over. That is completely okay. So you're also going to make sure that you keep that stick inside the fish while it's drying. Now I'm going to use the rest of my clay to make a base, and I'm going to put the fish and the stick inside the base, but I'm not going to let it dry. So I used the stick to make a hole, but I'm not going to leave it in there, otherwise my fish would fall over because it needs to lay flat when it dries. I'm just adding a little bit of grass down there at the bottom, but you can add some shells, or maybe your fish isn't swimming in the ocean. Maybe you're putting them into a car. It's whatever you want to do. And then there you go, you have a fish on a stick. Now make sure when you let it dry that you let it dry flat. Now that your awesome sculptures are complete, you can begin to dry them. So to dry your clay, you can set it outside in the sun or inside your house in front of a fan. That should take about 2 to 7 days, so it takes a long time for the clay to dry. If you want to speed up the process, you can put it in your oven. Make sure that you have an adult with you to help, but you're going to turn your oven on to 100 degrees Celsius, and you can leave the toilet paper roll and the stick on your clay because the temperature is going to be very low. And then you're going to allow your clay to bake in the oven, just like I put my clay in the kiln in the classroom. But you're going to do it for probably anywhere between 2 to 4 hours. I kept mine in the oven for about 4 hours, and it was pretty solid by the time that it was done. Be careful, it's going to be hot, so make sure you're always with an adult when you're working with it, and never turn the temperature above 100 degrees Celsius. If you have any questions, feel free to send me a message. I can't wait to see what you're going to make.